don't recall what I was doing or where I was, but for some reason I was dropped off at an intersection of two dry dirt roads. Again, I said it was the dry season. It was just hot, like a desert dry, and just dust this thick that's from the tank treads going by.
Hmm.
And there I was standing at this intersection, the M16 on, and just a light pack canteen. And I was the only person there. There was nothing there, and I'm waiting for this armored convoy or column to pick me up. And I have no idea how I got there. I must have been out doing something, and somebody dropped me off. But it was so I hooked up with the troop. These three reporters were only on one of the commo APCs, and we just took off. And I asked, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, we're maneuvering in support of B troop or A troop. I don't recall the units designations, but I talked to the reporters. They were sitting in the back of the APC, and they were pretty anxious. I think they'd gotten into a little bit more than they had anticipated, and it got a lot more than they was going to be interested in seeing. But we took off and moved into well, we're still in a column, but we finally got turned off the road, and we were in a column for a while, and then it was the typical armored column across country. You bust through a hedgerow, and you look up and make sure there's no snakes falling out on the track. And now that didn't happen during that, but I was apprised by the guys on the track to watch for snakes, falling down there, bamboo vipers. And we busted through a couple of hedgerows, and we got to, and this is late morning now, and the field opened up. There were dry rice paddies, as far as you could see, and 300-400 yards out in front of us is a hedgerow and just a patch of jungle. Again, I think this is a partly old rubber plantation, partly rice paddy type thing. The typical topography for around Cucci. And I told the three reporters once I got word from the tank commander or the PC commander that we're going to start moving into what we thought was going to be a firefight. And I told them to get down below, and they're more than happy to do that. And that's when all hell broke loose. So it turned out again that there was a well-entrenched NVA heavy weapons company, whatever, and they started after us with small arms fire, RPG, a lot. And we had essentially what had happened was we had one troop that I think I was in this way, and then two troops coming in from let's say we were going north. Again, I don't know where I was or what the direction exactly were, but if we were online coming north, there were two troops coming in from the right. So there were three troops, or the same as three companies, and these involve numerous APCs, tanks, and we also had which came up behind us, a column of what I think were regular South Vietnamese. They weren't rough puffs. They weren't the militia that you would see in more traditional garb. They were wearing regular army fatigues and stuff. So I assume that they were South Vietnamese regulars. But we started taking fire, and I turned into an infantryman.
Mm.
I just, I was not doing anything with the three reporters anymore. They were hiding, and I was fighting. So from about 11 to almost dusk,
Wow.
I was hanging off the left side of the track, probably fired thousands of rounds, M16. What I was shooting at was either tracers, I'd see a red tracer, or I would see a flash in the hedgerow. And I would shoot at that until it stopped. And they were about 100 yards out. And there were explosions all around. There were a fair amount of APCs that were hit by RPGs. And then when it got dark and the sun was setting, most extraordinary thing happened. Apparently, the NVA had booby trapped a daisy chain bomb that was a dud where it had fallen. Daisy chain bombs are like the huge bombs dropped by the Air Force, B-52s. And off to our right, on one of either the far right of the column or the other troop that was off to our right flank, a tank exploded. And it's the most surreal thing I've ever seen. I looked up and the turret from the tank sailed over top of my head, a couple 100 feet or so, and landed off to the left. Wow. It's the damnedest thing I've still ever seen in my life. Unbelievable. So we kept fighting. Well, I just kept shooting, I'll say, Off to the left, the platoon leader over there, who was my hoochmate back in another one of my hoochmates back in the camp, said that he got into a Chi-Com Tater Masher grenade tossing contest with, as he said, a goop that popped up out of a hole. Threw the grenade up on the track, and he grabbed it, threw it back down, and went off. And he said that you didn't see them around your track; they were coming up out of the holes. No, you sure? I did not. Just not. I was focused forward.
Wow.
So that fight went on until we got dark, or not quite dark, but until it got dark enough, and the track commander looked around. Again, I believe it was just sergeant. I wasn't on the platoon leader's track. The commo track was driven by a sergeant, I'm pretty sure, commanded by a sergeant. And he looked around, and we were the only one out. We were just out in front of everybody. There was no other support anywhere around us. None of the South Vietnamese, none of the other APCs. So he put it in reverse and just hauled it back, away from and the NVA had kind of stopped shooting at that point, but still. So we would haul balls back to where we set up a circular perimeter for the night. We were told to expect an attack.
Wow.
And the three reporters skedaddled. There was a helicopter landing zone that was set up just inside the wire. And they went over there and were able to get off on the Chinook that was coming in with resupplies and picking up wounded, which there were quite a few. But again, I was just an infantryman at that point. And so I asked the track commander, I said, what's getting ready to happen, do you think? And he said, well, we're going to get set up for a potential attack here. Said, what should I do? I'm just the S5. And he said, go out to the side of the track. There's a piece of PSP, raise it up. There's 2 stakes with it, metal mesh. Hook it up, dig a thing, and dig a foxhole. I just dug a little quick trench, fastest I've ever dug in my life, and fixed bayonet and put a couple of grenades. I always carried grenades in my flak jacket. Put a couple out and sat there for about half an hour. And it was the loneliest moment I think I have ever had, because I was really expecting to be seeing these guys coming out of the dark. That never happened. Colonel McGowan showed up in the morning. He flew in on the Loach, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Sir, I have no idea." He said, "Come over here and stand a minute." And it was sun was starting to come up, and it was just this fog. It was a fog of gunpowder and just basic, humidity fog. And it was a surreal place, and there were a lot of old rubber trees and dead. And he sat down and said, yeah, he was troubled, I think, by what had just happened. And I sensed, and I think it's something he told me, though I don't remember exactly, that he was just not so sure that this was what we should be doing. And I think he just, something like he asked me, he said, "What do you think of all this?" Something like that. What's it all about? What? I said, "Sir, I don't know. It's it was hell," was what I told him, I think.
It sounds like this fight went on for what, 6 or 7 hours?
From late morning until dark. Yeah.
So this might seem like a stupid question, but does the adrenaline keep pumping for that long?
To me, I think it felt like it went on for about 45 minutes.
The fight?
Yeah, I, it just, time just didn't mean what normal time more normally means. It was just shoot, you know, reach down in the wooden ammo box, get another mag out, shoot, look around, shoot. That's all I did for hours.